Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so you're going to be using this video to get your notes on African Americans in the American Revolution. Now, remember, you can pause this video at any point to make sure you get the notes you need. Again, if you got to pause it to get your notes, then pause it to get your notes. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for you to be learning about African Americans in the American Revolution.
Hello! My name is Cousin Steve, and I am the son of of Uncle Stan, who is the cousin of Uncle Sam. You probably have figured that out already based on my amazing hair, but I am gonna tell you a couple things that you need to know. Well, you must be Mr. Bailey's new U.S. history class of 2022 to 2023. Well, I am excited to teach y'all about a bunch of different things this year. So I'm glad to be able to be with you on this amazing adventure through learning about the history of America. Yeah, I have a lot of different accents and it's going to change constantly. You might want to be ready for that. But let's get on with today. Today, we're going to be learning about African Americans in the American Revolution. This is very important because, as you'll soon learn, it got very confusing when it came to logistics and slaves and all that in the American Revolution. You might want to be careful when things get too dark. But don't worry, that you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So, so that's what I'm doing, and let's get on with it. Okay, so when it came to slavery and the Revolution, there was one big major thing that kind of people tend to gloss over when they think about the Revolution, and that is the language of the Revolution was at odds with slavery. Now, you may not know what this means. Well, what that meant was they conflicted. How do I say this? Oh, so the Declaration of Independence basically said that we wanted that it was for liberty and all men were created equal, and yet we still had slaves in the colonies. So, see what I mean? You kind of got mixed messages whenever you whenever you were an African American in the colonies. I gotta show my tie, which is really a scarf, but whatever. But here's something kind of cool and sad. African Americans actually served on both sides of the American Revolution. Some served on the Patriots or the American side of the Revolutionary War, while others were loyalists who served on the British side of the war. Now, here's something very important. Over 18,000 slaves escaped to British lines or they ran away during the events of the war. Now, what's funny is that at the time, that was about 5% of all the slaves that were in the colonies. So if my math is correct, that's a lot. That's a lot of slaves in the colonies. Now, there's now you need to be careful when it comes to slavery and the Revolution, because you may think, well, most slaves probably only went to British lines because they had actual reason to, right? Well, you're right. Both sides used slaves as soldiers. An actually good example of this is the British side. In 1775, Virginia Governor Lord Dunmore, and later in 1779, General Henry Clinton actually offered freedom to slaves who enlisted in the British Army. There were also several states that also allowed slaves to serve in place of their masters. And in fact, New York actually offered freedom to slaves who served 3 years in the army. But if those slaves did get freed, which probably many didn't happen, because if this is a war, there's a pretty good chance you might die, the owners were often compensated for losing their slaves. But that means that slaves had a motivation to join the Revolutionary War because they could get freedom. Now, there's actually quite a few African American units in the Continental Army. An example is in Rhode Island. The first Rhode Island, in Rhode Island, they passed a bill in 1778 authorizing the recruitment of African American slaves. And this group actually got to see battle in the Battle of Rhode Island, and later in the Battle of Yorktown, which was the final major battle of the Revolutionary War. Just think of the Battle of Yorktown from Hamilton, if you know about musicals. Think that, but they were in there. Another big one was actually the Massachusetts. Massachusetts actually organized the Bucks of America under Samuel Middleton. Now, many of these units actually were offered freedom and regular pay. But another thing, just like in New York, owners were often compensated based on the value of the slave. So this could mean how much they paid for the original slave they could have been paid, or a new slave may have been given to them, or something like that. But remember, these guys did see action, and many of them more than likely were freed. And in Connecticut, there was the 2nd Company, 4th Connecticut Regiment, which was formed in October of 1780, 1 year before the Battle of Yorktown. So these guys, there's a lot of them, and I think that were protecting and or fighting in the war. But here's something important. Most of these units were integrated units. They weren't solely African American. They often were integrated in between both white and black. So this was a very iffy time in the American Revolution. Now, we have we have quite a few actually notable African Americans. We have Lemuel Haynes. Who was born in 1753 and died in 1833. He was actually a very influential religious leader who argued heavily against slavery. This is partially because at 5 months, he was given over to indentured servitude, which is kind of slavery, but you could be later freed. It was slavery, but not. It's weird. Trust me, I don't have time to get into it. But he later joined the Minutemen in 1776, and after the Revolutionary War, he wrote extensively against slavery. He was very much against it because of his time as an indentured servant, which honestly weren't treated any better than slaves. So, yeah. And then we have someone else. We have a man by the name of Peter Salem. Now, Mr. Peter Salem was born into slavery in Framingham, Massachusetts, and he fought along some of his former owners, and he is often credited with killing British General Pitcairn at the Battle of Bunker Hill, which was one of the earliest battles in the Revolutionary War. It wasn't the earliest, but it was one of the earliest. Now, I do need to say something. We're at the end, and I have to hand this back off to Mr. Bailey, or he's probably gonna kill me if I don't keep it any longer. So, well, I hope you did well. It was nice getting to talk to y'all, and y'all getting to learn. Now remember, there were points and things that were underlined. Those are answers to the questions in your notes. I forgot to mention this in the beginning. I don't know why I didn't do that. Why didn't I not do that? Why didn't I do that? Oh, yeah, because I forgot. Well, now I'm saying it at the end. So, anywho, let me get this over with. Those are per your notes. They're gonna be helpful. If you ever have a quiz and it's open notes, use them. These notes are helpful. Listen to Mr. Bailey when it comes to notes. He knows what he's doing. Now, thank you for your time, and it was nice getting to see y'all. Now, wait, hold up. I gotta stop this. Hold up.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. So that was cousin Steve presenting you about African Americans in the American Revolution. So now that you've gotten your notes, as you can see here on the screen, what you do need to do is move on to the African Americans in the American Revolution Ed puzzle. That's right, an Ed puzzle specifically. So no notes this time, but you are going to have questions along the way to answer. So please make sure you are paying attention, okay? Because you get graded on this stuff, right? Okay, cool. So you're going to go back into yeah, that Canvas thing, right? Like, every other time I've had you do this. So go into Canvas and you will see very specifically the African Americans in the American Revolution Ed puzzle. You'll click on that assignment, you'll get through that, and then once you do that, then you're going to move on to the next video for your notes, which will be on, oh yeah, women in the American Revolution. All right, guys, again, pay attention and